Today we're taking a look at these which are happening on Sunday, April 9th, 2023, and giving you our team and total picks for today. Welcome back to High Stakes. Before we dive into our video, don't forget to subscribe and to push the notification bell so you don't miss any of our videos. Also check out our Patreon if you want access to our premium picks. Our Patreon is a way for us to help you improve your chances of making more money, and if you are interested in props and parlay picks, check out our new channel High Stakes Props and Parlays, where you can find our player props and parlay picks predictions. You will find the link to our Patreon and to our new channel in the description and comments section below. Milwaukee Bucks vs Toronto Raptors. We've reached that exciting time when the biggest factor in predicting a game is which players wind up playing. The information for this game is unclear at the time of writing, but I am going to default to Toronto at home. The Raptors have won 10 of their last 11 home games and are more likely to be motivated to win in front of their fans. Milwaukee has absolutely nothing to gain from a win on Sunday, as it has already clinched the top seed in the Eastern Conference. Our team pick is Toronto minus 2.5 points. Toronto is in a similar situation on Sunday afternoon, as it does not have anything to play for. The Raptors won back-to-back games at Charlotte earlier this week before losing consecutive road games at Boston. They still had a chance to move up in the standings heading into Friday night's game against the Celtics, but they are now locked into the number 9 seed in the Eastern Conference play-in tournament. Toronto will host number 10 seed Chicago on Wednesday. Power forward Pascal Siakam led the Raptors with 19 points on 8 of 15 shooting against Boston, while point guard Fred VanVleet had 12 points and 8 assists. Our total pick is over. Charlotte Hornets vs Cleveland Cavaliers. Almost every game in the NBA on Sunday has question marks surrounding player availability, as playoff teams and eliminated teams are both resting key players. Cleveland's reserves are much better than Charlotte's, so I am happy to back the Cavaliers on Sunday. They have won 3 straight games, and their backups are trying to earn some playing time in the postseason. Charlotte has dropped 4 straight games and has not been able to generate much offense without its best players on the court. Cleveland is 10-3 in its last 13 home games and has won 5 of the last 6 meetings between these teams. Our team pick is Cleveland minus 4 points. All 3 meetings between these two have gone over this season, with an average total of 233.3 combined points per game. Over the last 5 games their combined average is 225.8 points per game, but both teams have been shooting well above their season averages in that stretch. Also, this is that game where we might not see the stars much, but those guys who are finally getting minutes are going to be looking to make a show of it. Defense also seems to have taken a bit of a backseat for the Cavs, who have allowed 112.4 points per game in their last 5, nearly 6 points more than they've averaged on the season. Between the two there have been 78 games that have gone over this season, and 5 of the last 7 meetings between the two have gone the way of the over. Take the over. Houston Rockets vs Washington Wizards. With their win over Miami, the Wizards halted a 4-game losing streak. Going 3-9 straight up down the stretch slotted them 11th in the Eastern Conference, unable to catch up to Chicago in the final play-in spot. Washington has averaged 113.2 points on offense this season, 9th lowest average in the season. They are 48.6% from the field and 35.6% from 3 on the season. They've upped their average over the last 5 games, scoring 115.2 points per while shooting 46.4% overall. On the flip side, the defense, which has allowed 114.4 points per game all season, has given up a whopping 123.2 over their last 5 games. On the year their opponents shot 47.3% from the field and 36.7% from 3-point range. The Wizards are averaging 43.5 rebounds per game, 34.2 on the defensive end, which are 5th best. They also average 13.4 turnovers per game. In their lone meeting this season, back on January 25, Washington won both straight up, 108-103, and against the spread as minus 2.5 favorites on the road. The Rockets have gone 33-45-3 at TS all season and 2-4-1 Austrian shillings over their last 7. Washington is 37-44 at S on the year, but have done well down the stretch, going 4-1 at S in their last 7. The Wizards have had a couple of tough nights on defense lately, allowing 134 to Atlanta and 140 to Milwaukee. But they did give up just 108 to Miami in their last game and just 111 in a nice win over Boston. The last time they met, the Washington defense did well to pressure the Rockets, forcing 14 turnovers. Houston had a big advantage on the boards and in the paint, but that won't be the case this time around, with Gafford getting the big minutes at center to close the season. The Wizards are 3-1 at TS in the last 3 matchups at home against the Rockets. Our team pick is Washington plus 3 points. These two put up a combined 211 points in their only other meeting this season, going under the total put on that game by 22.5 points. The last 3 meetings between these two have gone under and 4 of the last 5. On the season there has been 78 games between them that have gone under. Both teams have been scoring more down the stretch here, but coming into the finale with absolutely nothing on the line, desire tends to take a back seat to the plans for the offseason. Players have already checked out and it's down to those guys looking to make names for themselves, now that they are finally getting ample minutes. However, I don't trust that there are enough of those guys to force up enough points here. In the grand scheme of things, these are 2 of the lesser offenses in the game. Take the under. Atlanta Hawks vs Boston Celtics. The Atlanta Hawks played a poor game against Philadelphia's second unit and lost 136-131. They had already secured the 8th seed in the play-in tournament, but they played a bad game against the 76ers' entire bench unit. Boston will face the winner of Miami and Atlanta in the first round, and with Jaylen Brown out for the final game, the Celtics will likely sit their entire team for this game. It is essentially a meaningless dress rehearsal before the playoffs for both clubs, so expect limited minutes for starters and a lot of run time for benched players. I trust Boston's bench a lot more, and I expect them to play better than the group Atlanta is planning on trotting out. Take the Celtics minus 7 points. The Hawks are 5th in pace of play entering this final dress rehearsal before the playoff begin. It remains to be seen if Quinn Snyder opts to sit guys for this game, but it would not make much sense to play them in a game that is essentially meaningless for both clubs. Atlanta is 8th in offensive rating, but they have struggled on the defensive end this year. The total has gone over in 4 of Atlanta's last 5 games and 10 of their last 15 facing Eastern Conference opponents. Even if both teams play their starters for a quarter, they will not be in there long, as this game has no bearing on postseason seeding. Take the over here in a poorly played defensive game. Orlando Magic vs Miami Heat. Miami just wants to stay healthy in this game, while the Magic will likely look to close the season on a high note against their in-state rivals. The Heat will likely sit veterans Butler, Kyle Lowry, and Kevin Love among others. After sitting Banchero against the Nets, I expect Orlando to let the Roy favorite get some reps in the season finale. The Magic have more to gain with a win here, and the Heat don't have enough depth to produce without several key veterans. Take Orlando minus 4.5 points. The Miami Heat come into the season finale with their play-in seeding set at 7th in the Eastern Conference. The season has been a disappointment overall after winning 10 last games than last season in 2022-23. After losing 3 straight games, the Heat rallied for 3 straight wins to secure the 7th spot in the standings. On Friday night, with their seeding locked, the Heat fell 114-108 to the Wizards on the road. Victor Oladipo scored 30 points in the loss, as the Heat sat all-star Jimmy Butler and 2 other starters as well in the defeat. Our total pick is over. Detroit Pistons vs Chicago Bulls. Chicago doesn't have any incentive to compete in its regular season finale and may take its foot off the pedal. Ivy and Hayes competed with pride in the Pistons' last game, leading Detroit to a straight-up win over Indiana. I predict this duo will power the Pistons to a spread cover at United Center. Our team pick is Detroit plus 6 points. Chicago has gone over the point total or pushed in 3 of their last 4 games and 3 straight at home. Their opponent has scored at least 121 points in 5 of their previous 7 games. The Pistons have gone over in 5 straight games, and either they or their opponent has scored 121 points in 4 of their last 5. Detroit's defense ranks near the bottom of the NBA in several key defensive categories, so Chicago will have ample opportunity to score, even if they are resting their star players. Most signs point to a higher scoring affair. Look for this game to go over the point total. Philadelphia 76ers vs Brooklyn Nets. Never a huge need to crank out many stats and ATS numbers on the final day, as it's a day where unit sizes should be a mere fraction of what they normally are because of the questionable roster constructions and motivation out there. Knowing these two are about to start a playoff series though, and the home team for this regular season finale will be the big underdog in the playoff series, this is what I believe to be a somewhat positive spot to expect the Nets to come away with a Sue and Austrian shillings win. Going into a playoff series after going winless against that squad in the regular season can be too big of a hurdle for a younger team like the Nets to overcome, and even if it's far from the Sixers' best out there, a win is a win no matter how it comes. Even with all the drama the Nets have endured this season, through it all they still own a positive plus 0.8 ATS plus in their previous 40 home games this year, going 19-21 ATS at home. For all that's happened with Brooklyn this year, it would be rather fitting that they end the year exactly where they started, at least against the spread, dead even. Our team pick is Brooklyn -4 points. Base defenses and minimal intensity should be on the menu from both sides here, as nobody wants to see anyone get hurt, and maybe as important to some, nobody wants to show their hand in terms of how they plan to stop the other side. Base pick and rolls, minimally contested possessions are what I expect to see a lot of. Now, well, that would suggest looking at the over as the better option. You just never know how badly teams just want to get on and off the floor as quickly as possible on the last day of the season. It doesn't matter if they are a playoff team or not. Nobody wants to stress their bodies too much prior to the playoffs or prior to summer vacation, because who wants to be lying on a beach somewhere in a walking boot? Both of these teams are playoff bound, so injuries are the main concern here, and also searching for plays they'll be able to execute in half-court sets when the starters are back running them is a nice goal for both sides to have in this game as well. So we could easily see plenty of walking the ball up the floor, both teams trying to execute against set defenses, all the while the clock slowly ticks away. Get off the floor as quickly as possible, right? It's for that concern that I only look to going under the total on the last day of the season. Remember, units are much smaller to begin with on this day, as guys want that clock to keep rolling as long as possible. They've got vacations or the playoffs to get to. Especially in games that are meaningless in the standings like this one. No need to foul and let guys score with no time taken off the clock, and no need to run your best plays to ensure you score, because now it's on tape for the opponent and you've burned it for what? Vanilla as vanilla gets, and if we get enough bricks tossed up there and or a lot of half-court sets, as sort of a playoff dry run on both sides, there likely won't be enough time for these two teams to get up and over the total. The last thing they want is OT2, so you can forget about that possibility hurting you. Our total pick is under. Indiana Pacers vs New York Knicks. The Pacers are struggling as the season comes to a conclusion. They are playing without several key players, including scoring leader Tyrese Haliburton, along with Miles Turner. They have dropped 8 out of their last 10 games. The Knicks are also missing players and even resting some players in preparation for the playoffs, but definitely have more depth. Furthermore, these rivals just met earlier this week, and the Knicks piled on 138 points and did so without the services of Julius Randle, R.J. Barrett, and Jalen Brunson. The Knicks have won 5 of their last 6 games. They have averaged a solid 122 points in that 6-game span. They are also 3-0 against the Pacers this season. Our team pick is New York Knicks -8.5 points. Indiana's going to shoot, and shoot some more, as this is the last chance guys have to pad their stats for any potential contract negotiations this summer, and every stat counts as dollars to them in that regard. The Pacers have done nothing but try to fill up the offensive stat sheet these past few weeks of going through the motions, going 6-5-0 in this most recent 11-game stretch. A stretch that includes a 138-129 loss to this Knicks team last week. New York is already 19-9-0 this year as a home favorite to begin with, and it was this same Pacers team that allowed those 3 Knicks role players to score 30+ the other day. Can't imagine they get that many points here, but they likely won't need to. But the Knicks reserve stats matter too for contract talks, so why not take advantage of all the extra minutes they get in these late season games? Indiana will have no quarrels about pushing the pace to make it a brisk Sunday afternoon jog in New York, and without much interest in defense from either side, barring a poor shooting day from one or both of these clubs, this one sails over the number. Our total pick is over 9 points. Sacramento Kings vs Denver Nuggets. This will look more like a preseason or summer league game than an NBA game between two of the best teams in the conference, as we'll see a lot of bench players and maybe even some G League call-ups. So throw out the numbers and trends and just consider this: Denver is playing the second game of a back-to-back after playing Utah on Saturday. The Kings have had a couple nights rest after playing Friday night, and that should give them the edge here. Take the Kings to close out the campaign with a win and a cover. Our team pick is Sacramento Kings to cover. The Sacramento Kings have limped to the finish line, losing 3 of their last 4 games coming in. They sort of get a pass thought as they had locked up the 3rd seed with little hope of catching the 2nd-seeded Grizzlies. So, there's not a lot to play for here. Our total pick is over. San Antonio Spurs vs Dallas Mavericks. During Saturday's loss to Minnesota, Spurs forward Julian Champagny scored 24 points, nearly 3 times his season average. Fellow forward Keita Bates-Diop added 22 points. He is now averaging 9.4 ppg. Point guard Tre Jones, who averages 12.7 points and 6.5 assists, had a triple-double: 21 points, 12 assists and 10 rebounds against Minnesota. Zach Collins, 11.6 ppg, was scratched from the game with a finger injury and won't play against the Mavericks. Leading scorer Keldon Johnson, 22 ppg, missed Saturday's game with a foot injury. Other starters who missed Saturday's game were Jeremy Sochan, sore right knee, and Devin Vassell, injury management for left knee. Also out were Doug McDermott, sprained right ankle, and Devont Graham, left adductor strain. The Spurs average 112.7 points and shoot just .344 from three-point range and .744 from the foul line. Dallas is 3-0 this season against the Spurs. The Mavs earned a 126-125 win in San Antonio on December 31st, a 142-116 home win on February 23rd, and a 137-128 overtime win in San Antonio on March 15th. Dallas is 2-6 against the spread in its last 8 games. San Antonio is 2-8 ATS in its last 10 games. The one difference is that San Antonio has more incentive to win because the Spurs can't hurt their lottery odds. Dallas has no interest in winning. Take San Antonio plus 4 points. On Friday's loss, Doncic only played a few seconds into the second quarter but still scored 13 points, tying for the team high in scoring. Dallas led 67-54 at the half, but then played many deep reserves in the second half. Also scoring 13 points were Markieff Morris, who played only 8 minutes, and guard McKinley Wright-IV, who scored his 13 points in 24 minutes. Our total pick is over. Los Angeles Clippers vs Phoenix Suns. The final game of the NBA regular season is upon us, and the Clippers are still unsure where they will land in the playoff bracket. A win would give them the 5 seed, but guarantee a first-round matchup with Durant, Booker and a healthy Suns team. A loss could result in dropping to the 7 seed, where they will have to fight their way into a playoff series. Neither avenue seems like the logical choice, but judging by their injury report, the Clippers will be playing to win. This line did not get to -12 for no reason. The Clippers need this game to avoid the play-in tournament. If the Clippers win, they will get the 5 seed, but losing could result in falling all the way to 7th. As the 7 seed, you could lose back-to-back games and be out of the playoffs before the first round begins. All the top Suns players will be out, while the Clippers will be sending out Kawhi, Westbrook, and the rest of their top available players. Look for the Clippers to run up the score early, as they do not want this one to be close late. The earlier the Clippers can get a big lead, the more rest their stars can get. The Clippers will run away with this one. Take the Clippers to win and cover this big spread. Both teams are in the bottom third of the NBA in tempo. The Suns are playing all bench players, and not even their best bench players, as Cameron Payne will sit this one out as well. The Clippers typically play slow, they will have the size advantage inside in this one, and Kawhi is a lockdown defender who will slow down any Phoenix player who is starting to heat up. There is not enough talent in this game to support the over. The Clippers like to play slow, and considering they will likely dominate the flow of this game, it makes the under the play. Take the under. Memphis Grizzlies vs Oklahoma City Thunder. With the NBA season coming to a close, many of the best players in the league are sitting out games. The Grizzlies just played Milwaukee, but the Bucks did not play Giannis, Middleton, or Holiday. The Grizzlies played at full strength, resulting in a relatively easy 137-114 win, covering the 8.5-point spread as favorites. The Grizzlies were led by Jaren Jackson Jr. with 36 points in the win. In a game where all of the starters are out, we will take the team with a stronger bench. No offense to Isaiah Joe, but if he is your highest scorer coming into an NBA game, you are likely going to struggle to score. The Grizzlies will still have Luke Kennard, an elite shooter who can fill up the box score in a game like this. The Grizz also have a stronger point guard, as Tyus Jones is a better player than Tree-Man. David Roddy has impressed the Grizzlies staff enough to get playoff minutes and could have a big game here. The Grizzlies are sending out a stronger roster and will be able to win this game. Take the Grizzlies to cover the spread. The best 10 players in this game are sitting out. Bench players are going to play in rotations with guys they are not accustomed to playing with. Everyone is trying to either not get injured or do too much to gain playing time. Any possible recent trends are thrown out the window here. All star players including Morant and Gilgeous-Alexander have been in the lineup recently, so there will be very new lineups for each team. Do not expect a high total as the best players are out of the game. The under is the play. Take the under. Golden State Warriors vs Portland Trail Blazers. The Golden State Warriors have been an interesting team throughout the season and are coming off a 119-97 road win against the Sacramento Kings. The Warriors were able to shoot the ball extremely well as they shot 41 of 78, 52.6% overall, 16 of 36, 44.4% from beyond the arc, and 24 free throw attempts during the game. Shooting guard Klay Thompson led the team as in 35 minutes he finished with 29 points, 2 rebounds, 2 assists, 2 blocks, and 2 turnovers in the game. Defensively, they did extremely well as they allowed 38.8% from the field, 28.2% from beyond the arc, and 18 trips to the charity stripe. They were also able to force 12 total turnovers with 6 steals and 7 blocks in the game as well. This is more of a mindset than going off of stats, but Golden State knows a win here means they will not be in the play-in tournament no matter what. That also means they will not play for a full week, so that means they are going to play their key players for the entirety of the game and not just bench them later in the game. The injury report being a CVS receipt for the Trailblazers also makes it known that they are not interested in fielding a competitive roster for their final game. The Warriors are 3-0-1 at TS in their last 4 games against the Trailblazers, so go with the Golden State Warriors to cover a massive spread. Our team pick is Golden State Warriors minus 17.5 points. These defenses as of late have been struggling as Golden State is allowing 112.3 points in their last 4 games, while Portland is giving up 122.2 points in their previous 5 games. According to Dunks and Threes, these teams are struggling when looking at their adjusted defensive rating, as the Warriors are 17th with a 114.2 rating, while the Trailblazers are 27th with a 117.8 rating so far. The over is 18-7-1 in their last 26 games between one another in Portland, so go with the over to hit here. Utah Jazz vs Los Angeles Lakers. The Los Angeles Lakers have been one of the most intriguing teams since the second half of the year, as they are trying to win and get a week of rest to prepare for the playoffs. Their offense has been doing pretty well as they are 9th in the NBA with 117 points per game. Their offense looks a lot better than it has been earlier this season, as they are shooting 48.2% from the floor as a team. The Utah Jazz have been doing an outstanding job as they are 8th in the NBA, with 117.1 points per game thus far, while shooting 47.3% from the floor. Power forward Lauri Markkanen has been leading the offense, as he is scoring 25.6 points per game so far. They are a talented bunch that is performing better than the individual as the coaching staff, and everyone is clicking to continue racking up wins and staying competitive in a loaded Western Conference, while also building towards the draft with all their picks. These teams just met less than a week ago, and the game went to overtime, so the fact that the spread is so large is interesting to say the least. The Lakers should win the game outright, as this could potentially be their way to escape the play-in tournament and get to square off against the Sacramento Kings if they win and things fall their way. The ability to grab offensive rebounds shows a difference as the Jazz are averaging 11.8 offensive rebounds per game, while the Lakers are grabbing 10 per game. All in all, go with the Utah Jazz to cover as aftig spread. Our team pick is Utah Jazz plus 17.5 points. These teams have not been able to shoot the three-ball well throughout the season, as Los Angeles is 25th in the NBA, shooting 34.5% from three as a team, while Utah is 19th with a 35.4% from beyond the arc. Both teams turn the ball over too much, and that is less shot attempts and in theory less scoring, as the Jazz have the third most with 14.9 turnovers per game, while the Lakers are 15th with 13.5 turnovers per game. Go with the under as it makes the most sense here. New Orleans Pelicans vs Minnesota Timberwolves. In the Pelicans' 4 wins in their last 5 games, everyone came facing a team in the playoffs, including beating the top 2 seeds in the West in the Nuggets and Grizzlies. In their last game they were at home and beat the New York Knicks 113-105. New Orleans played well on both ends of the floor, shooting 53.2% while holding the Knicks to 43.2% shooting. Trey Murphy 3 led 4 starters who scored at least 15 points with 31 points on 10-21 shooting, and CJ McCollum went for 23 points on 8-15 shooting. With so much at the stake, the clash between the Pelicans and Timberwolves will be a joy to watch. We should see a proper back and forth battle, and if you want to take the risk, go with any team to win by 5 or fewer points to get hefty wages. The Pelicans are one of the best defensive units in the league, which is the reason why I'm backing New Orleans to cover. The Pels are 6th in the league in points allowed per 100 possessions, 112.6, and 1st in opposing three-point percentage, 33.9%. Also, New Orleans is 6th in defensive rebound percentage, 77.4%, whereas Minnesota ranks 26th in this category, 74.3%. Jonas Valanciunas will battle Rudy Gobert in the paint, and the Pels should dominate the Timberwolves on the glass. Our team pick is New Orleans Pelicans plus 3.5 points. And take over the total.